Hello and welcome to Unit 5 in our U.S. History class. In this unit we're going to be studying the topics of expansion, imperialism, manifest destiny, and then the impact that expansion into the West had on the debate over slavery. So we're going to be looking at the ways in which two events that are very large and monumentous in U.S. history that may seem like they don't have direct connections actually were directly related. So think about these questions that I've posed here in the introduction about the ways in which the acquisition of what we know today as the Southwest, including New Mexico, to the United States, how did that impact the national debate over slavery, and in what ways did it precipitate the Civil War? Also, we have to think about people like Ulysses S. Grant, Abraham Lincoln, some of the transcendentalists, including Emerson and Thoreau, among many, many others, who were critical of the war against Mexico. When you think about why they criticized that war, why they saw it as unjust, was it just a political ploy, or what sorts of ideological reasons did they have for opposing that war and then seeing it as the sin committed by the United States that led to the devastating destruction of the Civil War not too long later, just a little over a decade after the U.S.-Mexico War had finished. We're also going to be looking at the kind of more direct lead up to the Civil War as well as the war itself. So again, this is a big unit. Hopefully we'll be able to get into Reconstruction as well, because as historian Eric Foner has pointed out on several different occasions, Reconstruction is a very transformative moment in U.S. history. It's also one that we tend to write off. It's the one that's at the juncture between U.S. History 1 and U.S. History 2, and so it's the thing that in this class we rarely get to spend much time on, and the thing in 1162 that we begin with very quickly. It deserves a bit more attention than that, so hopefully we can give it its due here during this unit, although as I've just outlined we have to cover a lot in just a little time, which is the story of this class. But anyway, I'll stop rambling about that. Just looking ahead for this unit in terms of the readings and what's due, remember that along with the regular assignments, you also need to submit your long list for the final project. So by the time you enter this unit, you will have already submitted your topic and your research questions. So your long list is just a list of the URLs or the websites, the resources you'll be using. It's totally fine to use Google Books. I would actually encourage that. It's also fine to use the databases like Suncat OneSearch, although they may be a little harder to link to in your Storify. But you can still write about them and you can still cite them in your Storify. So cast a wide net as you look for sources. It would be a good idea to have between 15 and 20 for the long list. Again, all you have to do is list the URLs. You don't really have to say much else about them. The point of this part of the assignment is to help you get a large selection of sources to work from. Then you'll narrow those down to those that you'll use for the final project. I apologize about my allergies here. You'll narrow those down to those that you'll use for the final project. If you have any questions about that, please let me know as soon as you're able to, so that I can help you with that. I've revamped the reading worksheets, as I've said a couple other places, so you'll notice that for this unit you only need to complete the second bullet point, the primary sources, so that'll take you to the PBS Africans in America website. You need to scroll down to section 5 on the Civil War, and then choose 4 from the section Historical Documents. That's section B. That's where the primary sources will be. Quite a few of them are on John Brown. So think about who he is, what role he had in the lead up to the Civil War. The Schloenig article, Extermination and Democracy, is an important one in terms of looking at the story of ideologies and how they helped to promote expansion in the early part of the 1840s. Up until the election of 1844, the annexation of Texas was sort of off the table. Nobody talked about it, whether they were from the Whig Party or the Democratic Party. The reason being is that the potential of adding Texas to the Union meant that another slave state would be coming into the Union. It would throw off all of the earlier compromises that had been made, including the Missouri Compromise, or at least potentially, unless there was another state to bring in to counterbalance it. Initially there wasn't. But the ideology of manifest destiny, the notion of it being the U.S.'s God-given right to expand to the Pacific Ocean, played a major role in helping to shift political will and public opinions. So this article helps us to start to see how the Democratic Review, the newspaper that John O'Sullivan wrote the article in which he coined the term manifest destiny, how that periodical or that newspaper helped to shift the conversation. And the period we're looking at in this article, a little bit before what we're generally studying in this unit, because it goes from 1837 to 1840, but it does lay that important groundwork for understanding why those major shifts in thinking came during the early 1840s. So hopefully that helps to give you a little bit more context for that. Please view the videos as you're able, as many as possible. Of course, John Green is good. But also the Battle for North America helps us to understand the U.S.-Mexico War from a different perspective. From that of the Mexican side of the equation. The video about Los Niños Héroes tells a story about patriotism and heroism in the battle for Mexico City in the fall of 1847. So hopefully, again, just a couple of different perspectives to help us better understand that conflict. I hope you enjoy Unit 5. If you have any questions, as always, please let me know.